Excuse me. Yes, for those who have already come into the page, the screen, the chat, the broadcast. Well, I'm here. And hello, object. I'm just getting everything ready so that I can... Whoa. Alright, so... Tonight the plan is I'm going to make another player character, but this time I'm going to make him as epic as possible. This means that I have a Carlton in my lap. Yes? What are you doing? For those who don't know, I have two little house panthers. This one and Ralph, who's in the windowsill. And Shinju. All of them are unusually affectionate. Can I put you down? Yeah, there you go. Good boy. Anyway, like I was saying, hopefully with no further feline interruptions, I'm going to be making an epic dwarf. Kind of barbarian warrior type dwarf, you know. Roar! So, let's see how it goes, shall we? Now, of course, what's going to happen is we're going to have to start with actually posing the figure and getting it ready. Now, I'm going to start by putting the props and all that in place. Now, he's going to be this massive warrior with heavy-duty armor and weapon and blarg. So I could give him a two-handed hammer, but that wouldn't be epic enough. Instead, what I can do is I can take just a normal warhammer, a large warhammer, and let's see, do I have a good one? Anyway, like I was trying to say, take a regular warhammer, but then scale it up. That way it'll be even larger. And it'll appear even thicker. So, I'm going to put it in the left hand. Okay. Now, one thing we're going to do is we're going to slide it down. And that's going to be Z-scale, Z-translate rather. Slide it further down in the hand. And we're going to scale it up. And let's translate it down. Oh, too far. We need a 1.75. We're going to move it into the proper place again anyway when it comes time for the... because we're going to have to... probably going to end up scaling it up some more. Anyway. He's also going to be wearing heavy leg armor, but not so much breastplate. Maybe some bracers, but we can add those on. And I've actually done a set of leg plates. And then we'll just, heavily detail those. I could add on the skirt, but it doesn't work well with it. So we're going to delete that. Now, do we want him to have pauldrons? Yeah, we should give him pauldrons. He's probably going to be... No, he's not going to be wearing pauldrons, because he is a barbarian. He's going to have his upper torso mostly bare with, there's some kind of wrapped and straps and stuff. Okay. Any other props that we can think of to give him? Maybe a something on his hips. Well, we know it's not going to be a horn. Sword. Yeah, he's got a sword on his hip. That's something we're going to deal with. No, because he's going to be a dwarf, that might drag. Just in case, we're going to make it a dagger, which is on the opposite hip. Yeah. Now, we take our jointed base male, and just to be sure, we turn him into a dwarf. Now the thing is, because he's epic, we're also going to increase that muscular. We're also going to make the arms a little longer, just a little bit. So we're going to select, and we're also going to make the chest a little wider. All of these, fortunately, are manipulated with the X scale, because they're all technically aligned along the X axis. And we're going to then we're going to unselect the chest and the collars. Whoops. We want just the shoulders and the forearms here. We're going to X-scale them a little bit more. Make them longer. Now, time to pose. Yeah, this is going to be our epic dwarf. He's totally epic. But we have to move his dagger because, well, that's poking through his... That's if he was, poked by a dagger, not if he's wearing one. So we're going to... Now that we're back there, we're going to go ahead and go to a rear view and select our hammer and zoom in. I want to scale it up just a bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it just a bit so it's more close to being fully in the hand. Yeah, there we go. No, we don't want to use that hammer. The hammer looks kind of eh. Let's go ahead and use the old school warhammer that I made, because I can sculpt details on it a bit better. We're going, and let's make things easier. Let's go to back view. We're going to move the center up to the actual center of the hammer. That way it'll scale. And then left view. Okay, now we're going to Z-translate it back, and then we're going to scale it up until it's almost too big for the hand. Yeah. Now let's Z-translate it back just a little bit more. Now remember, this is not like 3D printing. In this, Z is in and out. Y is up and down. And X is same as X is in 3D printing. Now looking at it, I think I need to deepen his chest a little bit. So we're going to Z-scale the chest. Oh, I've got the... selecting the whole darn thing. I want the chest, not the whole darn figure. Z-scale chest a bit. Yeah. Now make sure I didn't accidentally... Okay, good. Next thing is, I'm going to kind of relax the fingers because they're a little bit too tightly wrapped around the handle. I want to have them nice and thick. So first, we're going to relax the thumb a little bit. Then we're going to relax the fingers there and the fingers here. Also, we're going to there. We just basically we're kind of tweaking the position of the thumbs in the hand to fit the fact that we are now holding a much larger weapon. And I think we need to bend the fingertips a little bit more in. -85. And just, we're gonna be until it, whoop. Okay. And we need to bring this in a bit more. And that should be good. Alright, now, the actual pose for our buddy. He's going to be standing, you know, left leg forward a little bit, his hammer down here, and his right arm up going, roar! So let's go ahead, let's actually do his expression first, because that'll help us get in the mood. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to open the mouth. Whoops. We're going to twist it a little bit, so that's more like a barbarian yelp. That's a bit too much open. Okay, and then the brows, we're going to zerotate. And we're going to rotate them up a bit. So, and then symmetry, right to left. That's our yelp. We're gonna, that's just a basic expression. We're gonna fix it and make it more personality when we actually go to sculpt. But it's already got a pretty interesting look. Alright, so as I've said before, never have the hips and the shoulders parallel to each other or the ground. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to tip the hips forward a little bit. And let me see, standing the way I want him to stand. Yes, I do this. I'll actually stand up and take a pose. Okay, he's rocked. Actually, his hips would rock back into the side, but not badly. So, back a little, and side to side. Yeah, there we go. Now, we're going to pose the legs. It's going to go side to side, in, and forward just a little. I'm going to bend this leg. This one goes back a bit. And this one bent quite a bit, but twisted a bit because it's got that direction of the foot. Front view. Let's zoom in on our feet, because that's what we want to be looking at, and getting the feet planted. Okay, we're going to bend the foot to go as close to flat as possible. It's going to need a little bit of side to side, but not a lot, just enough to flatten it. We're going to get the toes. We're going to bend the toes. And they do need a bit more twist. Okay. I hit drop. And I can see that this foot is now, it's kind of hard for you to see. There's a very faint ground line. And this foot is quite a few millimeters above. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend the foot. Actually, no, we're going to unbend the calf a bit. Let's go back to that front view. Okay, there we go. That is our stance. At least for the legs. Now for the torso. We're going to select both the abdomen and the chest. We're going to bend forward just a little bit, side to side, a good bit, because, hello Ralph, side to side a good bit because he's going to be standing that way. And we're going to twist forward just a little, just a couple degrees. Actually, let's unbend that leg a little, quite a bit more. Let's bend the foot quite a bit. We're going to end up zeroing the toe out for this and then redoing it. Also, let's go ahead and side to side out a little bit. Go back to front view. And let's bend the foot just a bit more until it's about where the toe would be touching. And then bend the toe. Okay. And let's try and get this. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit more heroic a stance. Now, we're going to do the right arm. And to do this shoulder's going to come forward just a little bit. So, forward. It's going to come up. Then we get to the actual arm. We're going to twist it this way. Bring it up a bit. And then we're going to bend it. And this is going to be a fist. Okay, no. Okay. Now, fingers, and bend them all. And then, now we'll go down. Let's zoom in on that fist. That's a bit too far, so next up is reduce the side to side a bit. We're going to bend it forward just a bit. And then bend that forward just a bit. Oh, also gonna twist it like that. Oh, now this is what I wanted to do. Okay, twist that way. And we have our fist. And now we do the other arm. This shoulder is actually going to bend backwards a bit. It's going to twist kind of forward. The arm itself is going to drop a bit and go back just a little, because and then twist that way. Okay, now we're going to Z translate this hammer. We need to untwist this forearm just a little, because we want it to be beside the foot, not through the foot. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone who has their weapon go through their foot. And we're going to Z translate it some more. Let's back up. That's good enough because it'll go through the base. Now the neck and head. Side to side just a little this way. No, just a little that way. And bend back a bit. Now it's going to side to side that way and bend forward. Now one thing, I'm actually going to make this a bit more like some of the older Games Workshop figures. So the head and everything on it is going to scale up a bit. It's going to have a big old head. We're going to make the neck just a little bigger. Not as much. The head itself is 115%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but you saw what it did. We're going to make the neck 106%. There we go. What that'll do is that'll give us room for a massive beard and some weirdness on the head and still have an expressive face. Okay, so right now we have our dwarf. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and hide the warhammer, the leg. No, it's not hide the leg plates. We need the leg plates where they are. And we're going to hide the hip dagger. Okay, I see one thing we need to change in this pose. We need to bring the arm up more, the collar up more, and bring the arm down more. We also need to twist the collar more. Oh, untwist the shoulder more and twist the collar more. There. We're going to fix the anatomy in the actual sculpt, but that's a bit more of a dynamic roar pose. No Ralph. No. I'm gonna work. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sitting here. Like I said. Now, fortunately, even though they were invisible, the hammer and the leg plates and the hip dagger stayed where they needed to be. Now I'm going to export this It exports what's visible. I should let you know. Export. I'm going to save this in my new minis as Epic Dwarf Body. You can't see a lot of the windows that pop up when I do this, sadly, because of the way things are captured. I'm going to hide the dwarf and his leg plates and make the dagger and warhammer visible. And I'm going to export these as Epic Dwarf Props. Accept. And next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch to ZBrush. Now, ZBrush is an expensive program. There's a couple options, however. If you want to try this, there's an option called ZBrush Core, which is nowhere near as expensive, but it still has most of the functionality of regular ZBrush. And I've got some tangled cords here that's getting in the way of my... Yeah, and put this over there. Now, the other option is free, which is Sculptress, or perhaps, if you prefer, the Sculpting in Blender. I have not tried it or seen it, so I don't know how good it is. There's also Mudbox, but back like 10 years ago I tried, or 12 years ago, I tried both Mudbox and ZBrush. There's a reason I stuck with ZBrush. Alright, now we're going to go ahead, we're going to import the Epic Dwarf Body. And here's what we got. And then we're going to append a new subtool that is going to be the Epic Dwarf Props. And here's what we had back in the other program. Now, we're going to hide the props. And we are going to go to geometry. We're going to divide it a few times. 2.3 million. That should be good enough to base a Dynamesh on. Before we do this, we're going to zoom in. Let's go ahead and undo that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth out the inside of the mouth so that it's not going in as deep. It's simply because this would make the mouth much harder to print when it comes time, because he would need so many supports inside the mouth. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah, that should be good enough. Go frame, go back to the maximum, and then delete lower. And then what we're going to do is what's called Dynamesh. And what this does is it effectively creates totally new geometry and shrink wraps it to fit the geometry of what we have present. Now what this will do is it will take this area here where the upper arm meets the shoulder, and it will blend. It'll make us able to blend it better. And it will also take where the armor meets this part of the leg. And now what we can do, we'll reduce the intensity a bit and smooth in that part. Now we're going to make it smaller to increase the intensity, because we need to kind of actually smooth it out. We'll go into further work on this when it comes time to actually detail the armor. But what this does is this helps us actually make them look like actual plates and not like it's the leg with some strips tied to it. Okay, so that's the first thing we're doing is this. After we do this, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and clean up the geometry for the anatomy of those arms, especially the right arm. Alright, we're going to come back and clean that up more later, but we just want to get the basic seams done. And we just clear up that seam there, and it's almost done, and just a little bit here, and just a little bit right there. Okay, now we frame it out. Okay, we really want it to have one further level of subdivision, so we subdivide lower. Now we need to smooth where the arm meets. Actually, we don't want to divide yet. We want to be able to go ahead and come in here and clean this up a bit easier. And when we subdivide, we run into one limitation of the smoothing brush. And that is that the more polygons underneath the smoothing brush, the harder it is to smooth. It takes longer, more intensity, and more strokes. And of course over here at the neck, the thing is, as long as we start with what's underneath this anatomy here, it will make what we put on top of it, bracers, straps, fur, what have you, arm hair, I don't care, it'll make it a lot easier. Now, one of the first things we have to do is this right here. That whole muscle area does not work. It happens because of the shape of the arm and the way things are handled when it's rigged, but what we need to do is we need to pull this out so that it goes behind. That goes effectively behind the triceps, because that's where this muscle, well, the muscle that it represents, would attach. And now we can blend it a bit more and smooth it out a bit more. Now I'm going to zoom out. Now I have to go to brush, auto masking, and then from here backface mask, because I'm going to be pulling this whole area out. Make the brush a lot larger, and I start drawing it all out this way. Then I'm going to take the Move Topological brush and drag it out like this. So like I said, as long as we are fixing the anatomy now, anything we put on top after will be much better. I shrink the mouse so I can smooth it a bit better. And there. Now the next thing is we're going to go inwards with this kind of the smaller brush, just very lightly, to exaggerate where the rib cage hits. Need to smooth that out a bit. We're also going to, when I hit Alt, I can sit here and exaggerate this. Now, as you can see, sometimes this will cause tears in the geometry. Some of them aren't really tears. Some of them are folds. But there's a couple tears right there. Well, what we're going to do is after we've done this, we're going to have to give it another Dynabrush. But that will actually come later. And what'll happen is it'll come much later. We just got to remember to avoid that area when it comes time to start making our seams and our props. Okay. Now let's make the muscles a little bit bigger and push in this way, because we want some depth to our rib cage area. Then we're going to take, we're not going to smooth out the, we're not going to detail out the belly until it's time to make, until after we've done straps on the belly. Okay. As you know, there's probably going to be straps of some kind. Oh, I need to bring it out here. And let's bring this out. We're going to increase the size of the pecs, but we're also going to add in the lines that the unusually large pecs usually have. We're going to go ahead and exaggerate them now, and they'll be better defined when it comes time to actually start detailing. Okay, the chest is looking better. The arm needs a lot more work. And actually what I need to do now is I need to go back to that move topological. I need to move this whole area here up. Because bones don't bend like that. And then we smooth it out a bit here. We're going to define our muscles later, after we've made our straps and things like that. So right now, all we really need to do is have the shapes correct. Now the butt, we actually need to inflate it a little bit because, well, it's deflated. It's a deflated buttocks. Let's bring it a little bit bigger. It is an epic buttocks. These are making epic buttocks. And when it comes time to make the pants, we'll kind of, let's go back to standard, make the brush smaller. And we need to kind of pull, go back to the add. You need to kind of pull this out, because we need to make sure that it's, obviously pants and not, the plumber crack of doom. That's not the crack of Mount Doom our adventurers want to go anywhere near. Or at least, not mine. Okay. That's the basic anatomy for what we're doing. Now, I need to smooth out this inner forearm. And I notice, is that, yes that is. I shrink this so I can do a whole lot more smoothing. Wait a minute, zoom in. Yes, anyway, we'll deal with that when it comes time. The next thing we got to do is we got to make a belt. We got to make one so that we can have both armor and bear up a torso. So we go ahead, we draw on a mask. It's going to go down over this lowest peak of the abdomen muscles, and then it's going to come back up above the buttocks. We can reshape those buttocks in a little bit. Oh, now to smooth that area right here. It's going to go up here. We're going to remove... Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. Well, I forgot to make the... Let's make this a little bit smaller. I forgot the hardness of the selection. Over here, let's erase. And zoom in and okay. Then come back around. It's more of a drawing. And have. Now the thing is, I'm going to tell you a little secret. He's not going to have a belt buckle. The reason for that is he's going to have an armor plate over his crotch. Frame out. Well, yeah, Divine, he's thick. He's a dwarf. Dwarves are always thick. Especially epic dwarves. No. No. Let me put you down. He'll probably be back in just a couple minutes. That little fuzz butt. Okay, now that we've got that, we go to Subtool. Extract. We're going to extract it at 0.03. Because we want it to be enough to really be seen. We hit extract, accept. We draw on the screen to get rid of any masking that comes out. And then now if you notice the masking's still there, we don't want it to be, so we remove the masking. Now we take the belt we just made, and we're going to Dynamesh it, frame. And then we're going to divide it. This one. No, we're not going to divide it. We need to... Dynamesh it at 128. And then we divide it. We're going to smooth it just a bit. This is supposed to be a leather belt, not metal armor. And what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to, as one of the minor problems with ZBrush, it's an advantage and a drawback. Frame out. Yeah. Okay, next thing is we are going to make a cod piece. We're going to hide the belt. We're going to mask on. Whoop. Mask on the area we want to basically be our armor shape. We're going to come back in later, or in just a couple seconds, and refine that shape. We're going to shrink the mouse using Control and Alt. We're going to sharpen it there, then we're going to come back in and sharpen it there, then we're going to draw it down. Now, we're going to sharpen it here, the big old loop, then we're going to come down like that. Okay, that's better. Okay. Now we're going to extract that at 0.05. Extract. Oh. Extract. Accept. There we go. And then undo his. Now here, the next thing we're going to do, we need to Dynamesh it at 256 so we can get some decent sharp edges. but we're going to start grabbing and dragging it. So we got to go back to move topological, make the brush a lot bigger. We're going to grab that bottom, we're going to drag it, oh, too far the wrong direction. We're going to drag it down, drag it out, oh, okay, it's a basic shape. We're going to shrink the mouse, and we're going to give it a very gentle, light smooth on this kind of wrinkly area, and we're going to move it back out here. Okay, now we're going to subdivide it a couple times. We're going to grab this section here and move it up just because we want it to be as even as possible. And let's grab down here and move it out. We want it to be kind of thick enough to print well, but the details will be a bit thinner. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the inflate tool. We're going to turn it up a bit. We're going to shrink down the tool itself, and we're going to go ahead and draw on a basic rounded trim. And then come down here. There. That's a basic plate. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a standard brush, but we're going to bring its focal length in so it becomes more of a sharp. We're going to make it almost as big as the plate itself. The reason for this is we're going to draw down the center. Well, that didn't work. Let's make it smaller and much smaller and much sharper. Nope, that's too sharp. Okay, I'm gonna make it bigger and not quite as intense. Then we're going to shrink it and sharpen this little section. No, it needs to be kind of towards the middle. Yeah. Now, in case you're wondering, when I do these, I do not have any reference material. I'm doing this entirely from what's in my own little head. That's only for right now. There will come a time I will use reference material when I'm doing a specific character, for example. Okay. And then smooth that. Then I'm going to take slash. See, add 3. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Turn off Lazy Mouse. Lazy Mouse is wonderful for many things, but not for this. Nope, still too strong. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to Dynamesh it again. No, we need to Dynamesh it even more, say 512. Dynamesh. Okay. Now, we're going to go in and we're going to clean up the areas here with a little, excuse me, a little bit of inflate and a little bit of smoothing. So, did I accidentally? No, I didn't. Good. So then, oh, too strong. We're going to inflate just right around here. And then it's a very light smooth, just to blend it. And right here we need to inflate a little and smooth just to blend it. Now the last thing we're going to do before we leave off from this plate is we're going to break open that slash again, but we're going to subtract. And we're going to, no, still not enough. We're going to dig in the border between the plate and the trim. No, too much. And then give a little bit of smoothing. No. Let's go ahead and redo that because it didn't come out well. Let's start off here. And then come down. And come down. Okay, now we're coming from this side, and whoop, too deep in. Now the reason for that we're doing this is that when it comes time to paint, this will help sharpen the difference between the trim and the plate itself, so that if you're painting the trim a different color, it'll be easier to catch a difference, catch a seam. And the other is if you come in and do a wash, it's going to sink in there and it's going to exaggerate the difference. And just to make sure that it fits over top of the belt, yep, it sure does. Now from here on, you could paint that bottom part as trousers, except it doesn't have any wrinkles. Oh well. We'll deal with that later, because next up we're going to go back up to our buddy. We're going to zoom in, and now that it's been been Dynameshed, we can finish smoothing out the mouth area here, because there's a couple spots where it had some weirdnesses. Okay, zoom in, shrink, dink, and smooth that. Okay, frame out. Now, the next step is, let's say, bracers. Okay, let's say that right arm is going to have a serious bracer on it. So let's go ahead and make the mouse bigger, and we're going to mask off the area that the bracer is going to be. Okay. I should warn you that tonight's show will probably last a lot longer than normal, because I'm going to be having to do a lot more detail bits, a lot more sculpting, actual sculpting and shaping, because my intent is to make an utterly epic dwarf. Now, let's zoom in a bit. I've mentioned this before. In ZBrush, when you draw, it changes the center of screen rotation to where you last drew. So the end result is that, well, let me go ahead. I'm going to draw on the back of his hand. He's going to have plates on the back of his hand. Anyway, the end result is when the last thing you did was a touch up in one corner. Well, that corner is going to be where it rotates around, and it'll occasionally move the figure off the screen. And let's okay. Now we're going to extract that at 3, not 5. Extract. Accept. And then just to double check, we select our buddy and deselect him, because make sure that what we just used to extract doesn't get. Now the next thing is, well, we got to come in here and zoom those out. Make sure we didn't miss any. Well, we got to Dynamesh it. We're going to Dynamesh it at 256, which is usually enough to get a decent sharp edge. 256. Then we're going to divide it a couple times, because what we're going to do now is we're going to make this a layered bracer. So we're going to select all of this here, until we come smoothing in. I'm going to draw this across to here, and then we're going to come up like this, fill it in, and we're going to then erase it just to sharpen that detail bit. Okay, and then we're going to go, let's say, halfway here, halfway of the inner arm. Because, yeah, this is going to be several plates. This is going to be a big old, thick old bracer. You know, the kind that in the real world would break your wrist rather than protect it. And we're going to come across here. Come up this way. And then we're going to start here, and we're going to come down to there and back up. Fill that in. But then we're going to erase just a bit, clean up the line, and to turn it into a rather sharp peak. Now this we're going to extract from the subtool at 0.02. Accept. And we're going to go back to our bracer and deselect. Alright, so now we have this guy. We're going to do one thing. Now we're going to do it after we Dynamesh. We're going to do the geometry, Dynamesh at 256. Now we're going to our slash. We have it. Oh, it's already on slash. We're going to add 5. Well, 4. 4 will do. And what we're going to do, first we're going to smooth that right there. Then we're going to gently drag across. Oh. Gently drag across to sharpen this edge. Oh, come on. What? Oh, yeah. Duh. Too small. Gently drag across to sharpen the... Yeah, there we go. Sharpen the edge. And then come on over here. And once again, we're going to smooth that. And then drag it across to sharpen. And then kind of sharpen this. Okay. And then just because there's some areas that need it here, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the Z sub, and we're going to dig in on the inside of the wrist on both of these. 1, 2, and then on the outside of the wrist. But this is 4. This is to define the seam of the armor. Now we're going to divide it a couple times. Lower. Going back to the regular bracer. And we're going to follow the same dig here. And just because. And we're going to go back to add, and we're going to start here and go up, up, and then just a little bit of smoothing because this got a little bit too sharp. There we go. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the move tool, the move topological. But this time we're going to make it, a nice large brush. We're going to focal shift it so that we can grab this part right here, stretch it down a bit. No, too much. We need to reduce the focal shift just a little, and grab here and drag down, then shrink the mouse and sharpen it even more. And we're going to grab, we're going to grab here and drag down just to sharpen it. And so now we have a decently armored bracer with no trim. Now we could do trim like we did down on the waist plate, but I'm going to have a bit more fun. Let me hide that outer plate. What we're going to do is, now we're going to be doing the same thing to the outer plate, so we're going to select the proper sized brush. Let's make it that, and we're going to sit here and then we'll hide Mr. Body. He's always been in hiding ever since he got murdered in Clue, or Cluedo if you're British. Yes, if you're British, they call Cluedo. Why they had to add in that extra D, I don't know. And then clean up on this side. Clean up on all 5. And I have a Shinji poking her head up. Come on, little buddy. Come on, baby girl. Yeah. Up. Come on. Good girl. There she gets your pettings. Yeah. Anyway. Poke back in here. Nope. Nobody said anything else. So I'll go back to ZBrush. I've got that. I really should clean that up with a smaller brush. Yeah, let's do that. And let's clean off this mask with a smaller brush. Okay. Now, double check that I got the mouse back to the right size. Oh. There. Now, we're going to do the same thing on the inside. Yep. Alright. Move out. Now what this is going to happen is we're going to extract out what will be the trim for the bracer. We're going to do something similar for the trim on the leg armor. This way we can keep it, you know, similar. We can keep a cohesive look. I should also note we are going to be adding sculpts to the leg armor. That will be detail that most FDM printers won't be able to do. We're going to add it to this armor too. In fact, we're going to use this armor as a test bed to see how it looks. Okay, now we shrink down the mouse and clean up on aisle 5. After an itch, eye. Ow. Okay, I'm going to erase it here. Okay, now we erase here and here. Now the reason why we're cleaning this up is because we don't want, when it extracts the geometry, it does it in the direction that the given polygon is facing. Oh look, we can go look straight down through the, I think that's the belt. Yeah, that's probably the belt. Okay. And now clean up the edge on the positive side. Whoop. Yep. And right around here, it needs some cleanup. If you're watching on YouTube, then yes, this is real time. I am doing this as I am doing this. Okay, frame. I know I wanted to frame just it. Okay, and now we're going to extract it at 0.2. We're going to accept, and we are going to Dynamesh F256. And divide it a couple times. Delete. Lower. Okay. Now one thing we're going to do while we've got it here is we are going to refine this area right there. We're going to switch. It's on move topological, so we're going to... Whoop. Not enough. First of all, we need to change focal shift back to 0 and then make the mouse a good bit bigger, yeah. Grab here and kind of move it in. And the same thing is going to happen here. Okay, and then that there. Now, let's go ahead and go back to Subtool, and we're going to select the outer bracer. Now it's there. Actually, let's go ahead and shrink the mouse a bit. We're going to hit it with a the smooth brush until it shrinks below the surface, but not entirely all the way up, because we're going to be adding trim to this tier as well. So all we need to do is hide that. First things first, we need to add some trim here. It's going to be slightly narrower than the trim here. Yeah, we need to hit it here too. Okay. And then, well, let's turn this off because it's hiding some of the geo. We then come around. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to hit the microphone there. And then come this around. Now, unlike the other, there's a significantly large portion of what will be the trim here, right around here, that it's not gonna, it's gonna be one single piece. We're gonna hit that with we're gonna delve into there and drive a groove into it with the slash brush, just so that it's somewhere that paint can catch. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hide the rest of the bracer so I can clean up the geo here. Or clean up the masking. And then erase. If you're speaking in chat, I don't know, because I have so few people that actually watch long enough to speak in chat that I have no idea that people are even in chat, really. Which makes me wonder why I even have Nightbot. Okay, and move up. Let's clean here and here. Okay, now we clean off the back side. And there, and then just a little bit more edging right here. Now we're going to extract to the point of do, accept, deselect, deselect, and now we're going to go to the slash Z sub, intensity 18, just a little bit bigger, and we're going to start here and just, oh, this is a time actually when lazy mouse is good. Increase the size. Oh, come on, stop that. The intensity, increase the lazy radius. No, not that big, but yeah. And then I click here and drag across towards there. Then I hit the number 1 a couple times, because what that will do is that will, oh, shnikes, I forgot to, did I dynamesh it? No, I didn't. I did not dynamesh it. Geometry 256, dynamesh, divide, divide, delete lower. Now let's increase that intensity a little and increase the size a little. Now, draw here to there. Oh. Let's increase the intensity a bit more. Okay, I'll come back and clean that up in a minute, but next it's here, and I just draw to here, and then 1. Alright, now we turn off lazy mouse and shrink that down a lot, and draw across there. Now, I'm going to smooth. Well, I'm going to smooth that and then draw across it again until I get it dug in. Okay, zoom out, spin around, zoom in. Like I said, just a little bit to bring that in, and a little bit of smoothing. And frame out. Okay, excellent. Now, let's go ahead go back to inventory, go back to subtool, and let's make sure we turn off our extras. And make all of the parts of our bracers visible, including Mr. Dwarfy. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we've got to add some details to it. We have our trim that really shows off that it's multiple plates. But now we need to add details. So the first thing we're going to add on the back of this, he might be a barbarian, but he's not a barbarian. So we're going to our insert gemstone. We're going to insert a gemstone on it. Now first I got to take the depth and make that depth pretty slow, and then I'm just going to click in the kind of near the center and drag to make a rather large gemstone on the back. And then while it's masked and unmasked, we're going to split unmasked parts, because this sucker needs to get dynamesh, no, not dynamesh, but mesh smoothed a couple times. So now he's got a gemstone on the back of his bracer. It's a little bit of detail. We might do something similar on the sides of the thigh plates when we get to them. But we need to do something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going back to the subtools, selecting the actual outer bracer, and I'm going to switch to the slash brush. And I'm going to draw on some runes. Okay, it's going to be a little bit wider than I expected, so. And after I draw these in, I'm going to go back over the edges to sharpen them. Okay, and Odal. Yes, all of these are legitimate runes. Okay, now I need to select this right here and smooth these little bits here away. Okay. Now let's turn it back to add and drop it down to 6. And we're going to exaggerate the edges of these runes. Just to make them just a little bit sharper. And what really gets me about doing this is how I am able to do in a moderately short time. I mean, it's only been an hour and a half, but still, in an hour and a half in the old techniques back when I was using putty, this wouldn't have even been anywhere near where it is now. I would have been still, even if I had a kiln to bake them up, this would have been barely. Okay, we're going to go back to what? Yeah. We're going to go back to here, Anyway, like I was trying to say, first of all, let's undo the masking. I would have had, even if I had a kiln, that would have, helped me dig them out. I would have barely had the body done. And we're gonna go over and sharpen this pattern that we've done. Okay, and now we're going to put some more runes here. Oh, no, we want to be on subtract and 17. Okay, so we're going up, down, up, down, up. First of all, let's make an and let's drop this back down to 6 or 7 will do. And we epic rune carved armor. And whoop whoop beep 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 beep. I'm telling you, it was aliens. Yes, it was aliens. Aliens created runes. Yeah, aliens did everything humans ever did because obviously humans couldn't be one of the most brilliant tool-using creatures on the face of the planet. And there we go, a highly detailed bracer set. And I'm going to go ahead, while I'm sitting here staring at it, I am going to merge down all of the bracer parts. There. That is the bracer. Okay. Pardon me while I get some sody pop. And that is a level of detail we are going to strive to do for this entire miniature, which means this will be a slightly longer than normal broadcast. Oh, and thank you, Brendan40. Yes. Refresh this. Take a brief brain and soda break. Now, next step, we're going to go ahead and add some detailing to the crotch plate. So before we can do that, we need to not dynamesh, but subdivide it. Yeah, like lower. We're going to sub intensity 15, and I gotta remember draw size 10 when I do these runes. Okay, first things first, it's not going to be runes down here. It's just going to be a swirly pattern. The reason? This is a high-level character. Not everything he got came from the same place. Okay, then we're going to add and drop it down to 6. We're going to come around and just follow the outline. Okay. That's a nice little sculpted detail in there. Now we're going back to the sub 15, or 14 will do, and we're going to try to draw a mirror image. And then okay, and now we're going to add at 4, 6. Okay. That's interesting. I'm overhearing the news as my mother is watching it in the other room. And apparently there is a virus carried by dogs that are not neutered that can affect humans. Okay. Yeah, that's all we need. We just want to add a little bit of swirlies. Now we're going to go ahead, go back and select Mr. Big Guy on the top. We're going to add a few more straps and bits. The rest of it will be detailing on those straps and bits. Actually, no. Let's go ahead and, tweak that face. One thing we need to do is we need to, because of the type of face he has, we're going to need to inflate ever so slightly the lip. So we're going to come down here, we're going to make the lip a bit bigger. And then we're going to actually do something similar up here. But then we're going to go back and we're going to use the slash to sharpen the top edge. No. And the bottom edge of the lip, making it sharper. That's something that probably will only be seen by resin printers. And then it's inflate the sides of the nose. And then inflate the upper part of these brows. Exaggerate them, make them bigger. Whoop. And then right here, there's a little bit of smoothing just to then, oh, cheeks. Cheekbones. Let's exaggerate these cheekbones. Okay. Then we're going to take our slash tool on Z sub. We're going to start drawing in a little bit tighter there. We're going to draw in, actually let's make it bigger and less intense, and we're going to draw in some brow lines. Again, that's something that will probably be mostly for FDM printers. But even with, mostly for resin printers, but even with FDM, the implications are there, and it makes it easier to see. Okay, let's go ahead and hide the upper arm, the shoulder, the chest, this color, and we're going to paint on where the beard is, because every dwarf needs a beard. I don't care who you are, every dwarf needs a beard. Okay. And yes, he is going to have a little bit of a neck beard, mostly because we need the geometry. And because it doesn't matter since the beard blends in with the chest later on. Now, zoom out just to make sure that it's looking halfway decent. Okay, I need to go a little bit higher over here. And we need to refine that. And just in case, we need to remove it from the lip itself. And then it's kind of dip down here, and then dip down here. Frame again. Okay. Yes, I am doing the beard separate from the hair. So now we are going to extract that. At 0.02. Extract. Accept. There. There. Now we frame in on the beard. We are going to dynamesh it at 128. and very lightly smooth it. Actually, we need a bit more. Because we don't want hard edges on the edges of our beard. Alrighty, and then down here. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, the area where the beard itself is, we're going to inflate. Because we want thicker beard than what just simply came out of the Dynamesh. I mean, out of the extraction. No fuzz. Get up. Oh, you're wanting to get down on the ground. Okay. There you go. Now, back to doing this. And we're going to add in a bit more in this area. And then quite a bit more over here. Okay, let's zoom out. Now, we're going to go ahead and subdivide it a couple times. Delete lower. And now we're going to use movement topological to grab larger chunks and drag them out. And we're going to pull them out this way so we can pull them out away from the body. And let's go under here, inflate. And let's inflate the underside of this. Because we want it to kind of blend in and blend that gap. Like down here, we want it to blend. Because we want this beard to be really super thick. Now, we have the basic shape of the beard. You'll notice we don't have a mustache. That's by design. Now, slash. Bring that Z intensity back up to 15 and shrink it down a bit. First things first is we're going to just start drawing in locks into the beard. The initial one's pretty much following this little division we've created. But not all of them. Now again, you don't draw every hair when you make beards or hair. You draw enough to imply. Whoop. Come back to that with a lighter brush, a lighter hand. And then back here we gotta get a couple just in case. Now we reduce it from 15 to 6 and get a couple marks in here. Okay. Now, we're going to shrink the mouse and switch to Z add. And what we're going to do is the larger, well, first let's go ahead and divide it one more time. Now what we're going to do, well, let's dig a little bit deeper right here. Okay. On the larger ones here, we're going to make it a little bit bigger. Larger ones, we're going to draw on edges on the outside, on both sides of the lock, like that, with a line for the sharp ending. And what this is for, this is to catch the brush better for those people who do dry brushing. The smaller ones, we're just going to go one kind of flowing along the lock. Okay. And then down we go. I'm hitting 1 on occasion to make sure that we can get it even sharper. And drawing on the last few hairs on this side, and and then just a couple more Sharpie bits there. Now we got to deal with it on this side of the beard, and this is gonna, let's make this a bit of an oval. Oh, we need to very lightly, whoop, smooth that part out, and then like I said, this is all, you're not, think of it like impressionistic painting. You're not trying to do what's actually there, you're trying to capture the impression of what's there for people who are coming later and painting it. And that's our beard. Now some more soda. We are going to go ahead and give him a left bracer. And in so doing, we're going to make sure that he stays nice and armory. This bracer will be not... Actually, no. I know what we'll do. This bracer won't be so much a bracer as a... brain goes... This is an arm wrap. Let's make that smaller. And I am hiding parts of the body now so I can get this a lot easier, as well as I'm hiding the other bits that I've already made. Okay. I don't think we're going to need to worry about the... So zoom in, and now shrink the mouse a bit. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, get my foot out from underneath my other leg. Yeah. I hate getting older. And I'm going to move it near the center. And I'm going to mask on one band. Okay, then I'm going to give it a gap, mask on a second band. I can't wait till election season is over and the political ads and the political phone calls stop. And then let's go ahead and make one on the upper arm, but instead of being like the other, this one is going to be, which way is the, yeah, that's the head, so this is the outside. So a circle here, a larger circle, and another circle here. Now, come around, and we're going to start here and come around this way, and now we're going to draw the two of them together. Okay, now we're going to make the rest of the guy visible. Now we're going to extract 0.02, accept, move those, and now we go to Dynamesh at 128. Oops, no, Dynamesh at 256. Nope. Let's try smooth blur to 0. No. Okay, now we're on slash. Let's go ahead and Z subs intensity 20, and let's erase. Let's carve in some further space between these. Okay. And then on the upper arm, we're going to go ahead, go back to our little gemstone. We're going to draw on 1, 2. Again, that's going to be something that's not going to be very visible in an FDM print, but the resin printers will catch it. Now the next thing to do is let's make the beard visible. And now we're going to add some hair, but it's not going to be, this is going to be down here, because see what it is, this is an epic warrior. He's old. He's seen and done a whole lot. And he might be a bit of a berserker, you know, because how can you be a dwarven epic warrior with no breastplate and not be a berserker? And we're gonna bring it all right. Okay, that should be enough to bring out, and then we're going to extruded it to, or extracted it to, accept. And this will be the start of his hair. So now we go to geometry, and we're going to Dynamesh at 128. And then we're going to smooth. Let me make the. We're going to smooth the top very gently, especially down here, down near the ear. And the wing. Now we go back to our move topological, zoom out, drag it down into the existing hair. Drag it down into the existing hair, although it's got to smooth out a little bit more. Okay. And now let's then we're going to divide it a couple times so we can make our appropriate. Now we're going to inflate the whole thing. And it's going to be coming down this way. That's just to give us a basic form and some mass. Then we go into slash and shrink it. Break that down to 15. And we're going to draw on the shape and sharpen some of this area, like right there. And bring this in here. Okay. Then we kind of shrink it a little bit, and we're going to draw in a couple little separate bits onto these locks just to make them a bit more detailed. Okay, and then draw on some Sharpie bits here. And this is basically just to get ourselves some nice sharp places for hair. Smooth that out, because that's, yeah. Okay, come on, we need to make this a bit sharper. Anyway, and once we get this hair done, we can start working on other things, such as giving him pants, which kind of helps. Well, not so much giving him pants as showing the wrinkles in the pants. You see, dwarves are not hipsters. Dwarves don't wear skinny jeans. Especially not middle-aged dwarves with balding heads and raggedy beards. So we're going to add on the belt, make it visible, and we're going to work from there. So yes. Okay. Now, the way we handle these, we're going to make this very simple. We're going to increase the intensity from 6 to 8. And we're going to just start drawing on. There's 3 kinds of wrinkles. We're only going to worry about a couple. This is basically, they're radial wrinkles. And by that I mean they radiate out from an area. And then just a little bit of smoothing up here. Okay, we need to undo these wrinkles because it's too sharp. Or better yet, let's undo the focal strength. Way too strong. No. And then we go to sub and we go underneath. Oh, way too strong. We'll handle that later because we need to make these, put these in first. Then we go to Z sub, increase the intensity and decrease the size. And we go underneath these wrinkles and hit it with a smooth. The reason why we're putting the gouge under the wrinkle is because gravity. Now let's go ahead and use standard. Let's go ahead and make these bigger because we want them bigger. Okay. Now here we're going to have slightly different radial. Let's increase that draw size, increase that draw strength. We're going to come out, first things first, we're going to come out underneath. It's going to smooth out a bit. And then we smooth them out. Okay, now in the shrink we're going to draw on too big. Okay, and then we're also going to draw a couple cross wrinkles across the butt. And switch to slash. Add. And then. Once again, we're sharpening the top of the wrinkle as from the point of view of gravity. And we are digging in the underside. Whoop. And now we go ahead and smooth just a bit. frame out. Okay. Technically, by any standard, we've gotten a nicely detailed dwarf figure here. Assuming we go back over and redo the musculature, which is the last step we're going to do. Well, one of the last. Except that's a very plain hammer. Dagger's nice, but it's a plain hammer. Dagger also needs a strap. So while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead, but first of all, let's make the subdivide the props. Make sure it goes that, yeah. And then go back up to Mr. Duty. Turn off the belt. And we're gonna I'm going to use my finger on the screen to notate where the dagger is. Okay, so I gotta, okay, there. And I'm going to draw on strap. And we're going to bring it up just a little bit higher because we're going to be extracting it out as a strap, which means we're going to need there and there. No, that's not where. That's not where it needs to come down from down here, where the that is. Okay. Turn off the okay, put the belt on. Okay, I need to go higher because I need to sharpen, make sure it's nice and sharp edged. And there. Now shrink down the mouse and clean it just a little bit more. And then extract it at 0.2. Accept. And then Dynamesh 256. Subdivide a couple times, hide that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to make a loop on top of this strap. Okay, now we're going to zoom in and we're going to shrink it even more, and we're going to clean up. And clean up on ya. Okay, now we're going to zoom out, and we're going to extract this at 0.02, or 0.03. Extract. No. Actually, let's go ahead and do it this way. And now let's try extracting it. Looks much better, except undraw, and the belt. That makes the belt look much. Okay. Now we're going to dynamesh it at 128. Divide it a couple times. We're going to use the move topological brush to kind of refine the shape. So because we're going to be pulling and pushing. So we're going to drag this out a bit like that, just to kind of straighten it up. The same thing with right here. We're going to try and straighten it up. Now up top, it's a bit high, so we're going to bring the whole thing down. Yeah, and there. Now we have the strap that is holding on the dagger. Let's go ahead and we need to go ahead and make masking invert. We're going to use a regular brush, regular move tool, and we're going to make it humongoid, because what we want to do, we want to kind of modify the position of this dagger. That's a bit too big. Let's drop it down. Just kind of maneuvering it around. Yeah, that's good enough. Unmask. Okay. It's doing pretty good. Now the next step is we're going to refine those leg armor. Okay. Oh, I'm tempted to go ahead and save it and make a part 2 on Sunday. So, because it's already 10:20. It's been almost 2.5 hours on this sucker, and it's looking really good so far. But we've got a lot of work left to do. We got a lot of detailing on the musculature. We got a lot of detailing on the leg armor. We got a lot of detailing on the hammer. Heck, we could even do some detailing on the dagger. Well, I have at least one person still watching. Say hello to Ralph. He wants to go down So I put him down. Oh, epic dwarfiness. Like I said, it is currently 10:22. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this Z tool. I will finish this dwarfy on Sunday. Alright. Save as body. I'm also going to go ahead and export all the parts. But I'm going to go ahead and do that after I've gone ahead and signed out. So that was part 1 of our epically detailed dwarf. And part 2 will be Sunday at 6 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold up my hand on the left here. Your right, my left. And when I see this hand, your right, my go left, down to 1, I'm going to log out. I do this because of the whole lag. Okay? Alright, so that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't you just love lag?